love a good scare? Share the scare. Share the love of Nancy Drew Games.
How is everyone? Do you have your beverage of choice ready to go while you're listening? How's the music volume? Is it okay? What else do I have to say? I got my flu shot this morning. Go get your flu shot if you haven't already. That's my PSA. I don't know. We're gonna finish the book today. I'm really excited. And then we'll pick another book. And I think read streams will work out pretty good for me, doing them consistently until my schedule changes. So I'll probably stick with that. And then see if we can't get some indie going with Keegan, like, some days. I don't know. I need to talk to him and see if we can do it tomorrow, but yeah. Okay, that's good. What else do I have to say? Welcome for liking the music. Yes, it's Studio Ghibli jazz that I just found on YouTube, and I liked it, so. I like your blanket. Thank you. Oh, oops. Fun note about this blanket. I got it in Japan, and I've had it since then, and I take it around the world with me. It's been to Australia twice, I think. It's been to Iceland and Ireland. Yeah, it's just my travel blanket now. I stick it in my pillowcase, because I do take my pillows with me. Well, a pillow. That's my, like, instead of a purse, I just, like, take a tiny purse and put it in my backpack, and then I have a pillow as my other carry-on item. Yeah, and then I stuff things in my pillowcase. And then people look at me weird, and I think I got stopped one time for it. But I've been doing that for years, and I've only gotten stopped like once. But anyways, yeah. Thank you for liking my blanket. What does your blanket look like? Also, what's the weather like for you guys? I'm curious. It finally has gotten cool. So, like, it actually feels like fall now, and I'm very excited. Just in time for my birthday. I hope it's still cool on my birthday. We dropped some frames earlier. Now, if I can remember correctly, so we left off on chapter... Very, very strong wind. Was raining this morning, but now scattered sunshine with sporadic gusts. Wind. Interesting. What temperature? You're in Massachusetts, right? Is that right? We left off on chapter 11? No. Sorry. Chapter 16. I can read Roman numerals. My blanket is red, more of a comforter than a quilt. Mine's not really a quilt. It's just plaid. I don't know, it's just I don't even know what it's made out of. It's not that furry as it looks. Yeah, it's just a normal blanket. 85? Wait, you're in Charleston? What? So are you and V, like, hanging out every day now? I'm jealous. Why did I think you were in Massachusetts? I'm very confused. I'm sorry. I'm sure we talked about this. Been in Charleston since August 1st. Why did I think you were moving to Massachusetts, though? I could have sworn you were moving to Massachusetts. I'm sure we talked about this. I'm sorry. So, the last thing that happened, you know, was a cliffhanger type thing. She's very busy, and I'm pretty busy too. 2 or 3 teams. I'm sorry. That's cool that you're close, though, because you have that option, you know. Just in Massachusetts to see Nicole and Oxel. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Do you still have your, like, barista job? Or did you... The last time we talked about job stuff, you were maybe getting another job, but you were working, like, as a barista. Am I correct in this? I hope I'm right on something. So the cliffhanger was, you know, she's with Ned at Emerson, and they went to somebody's house. No, they're at the fraternity parking lot, and somebody is racing towards them in a car. Of course. Always happens to Nancy. So... there's just been a bunch of, like, identity issues going on with the fake... not the fake, but the other Nancy Drew. I can't even remember, honestly. I was so worried about frames last time that I think... Yeah, that's right. You work at school as an after-school counselor. And you really like it. That's awesome. I think you were just starting it. Oh no. Sorry, I saw a frame drop, so... I'm, like, really paranoid about it. Well, I'm glad it's going well for you. That's awesome. I'm still working on finding a job. But there are more that opened up, so I'm gonna apply. Yeah, I was so worried about frames that last time I don't even think I absorbed much of the story, so I can't really give you a good synopsis. There was weird football. Why am I dropping frames? There was weird football with Ned playing, like, every position, and me and CJ and Terry thought it was very strange and made fun of it. And then we decided Mildred Benson doesn't know much about football, which endeared her even more to us, because I don't either. And CJ only knows a lot because he, like, tried to get into it as a kid, but now he hates it or something. I don't know. Good luck with your job hunting. Thank you. Can be pretty tough, indeed. And I'm just trying to get a part-time job. Only know football because Cody Benjamin knows football. I don't know who that is. So, yeah, it just left off with a cliffhanger, and that's where we're at. So I will go ahead and get started. Cody Benjamin is my brother. Okay. Okay, there you go. Okay, so we are on chapter 17. Yes. And it's called Fake Summons. Though terrified, Nancy and Ned reacted quickly. With a tremendous leap, they managed to get out of the way of the oncoming car. The couple landed on some tree roots and lost their balance. Suddenly, it was dark around them. They realized that the driver of the car, which had almost hit them, had turned off his headlights. In a second, the car roared back into the street and sped away. Nancy and Ned picked themselves up and stared after the vehicle. By a streetlight, they caught a glimpse of the car. It was red in color. The driver deliberately tried to run us down. Oh, there's no quotation marks on that side. Copy editing error. The driver deliberately tried to run us down, Ned stormed. That was your enemy, Nancy. I'm afraid so, she agreed. Ned, we must report this to the police at once. Let's go back to my car and drive downtown. Are you sure you're all right? Ned asked solicitously. You don't want to go back to the fraternity house first? Nancy assured him her nerves were steady now. I'm just mad, she said. The person in that car was either Edgar Nixon or one of his henchmen. I'm going to keep after him until he's brought to justice. Let me know if I'm dropping frames. It's driving me nuts. Ned laughed. That a girl, he said, patting her shoulder. At police headquarters, they talked to Captain Crate. Ned told of the recent near accident. Then Nancy went on to reveal her suspicions about a man named Edgar Nixon, who ran a Lonely Hearts Club. Lonely Hearts Club, eh? The captain repeated. He turned the pages of a large book on his desk. I have a notation here to be on the lookout for such a person. We've had complaints from 2 women who said that an Edgar Nixon promised them a husband, but he never produced any. How did the club operate? Nancy asked. Captain Crate said that the total sum for finding a husband was $100, which was paid on the installment plan of $25 a month. These poor women sent their last payment but never heard from Nixon again. When they made inquiries at the houses where he had lived, they learned that he had moved away and left no forwarding address. Nancy reported, Lots of errors in this chapter so far. Nancy reported how she had come upon one such address and seen a couple of letters, each one containing $25. But by that time, he had moved. That's always the pattern, Captain Crate remarked. Do you know the names of any of his victims? Possibly one, she replied. Her name is the same as mine. That's how I became mixed up in the mystery. Nancy told him about the actress by the name of Nancy Smith Drew. I'm so afraid she's not only a victim of Edgar Nixon's dishonesty, but that he intends to marry her and help himself to an inheritance she's going to get. The police captain frowned. This is a complicated case. Well, I shall put out an alarm also for this Miss Nancy Smith Drew. Nancy then left with Ned and went back to the fraternity house. Bess and George were already in the girls' bedroom and were amazed at the story she had to tell about the near accident. It seems if you aren't safe anywhere, Bess said. Nancy, please be careful. I promise, Nancy said with a chuckle. But my enemy seems to strike in such peculiar ways. All I can do is jump out of his path as fast as possible. She hurried to take a shower and get dressed for the dance. Dinner was merry, and afterward the couple strolled off to the gymnasium where the dance was to be held. Football star Ned Nickerson became the center of attention with congratulations, handshaking, and back-slapping the order of the evening. Finally, as the band began to play, he escaped onto the dance floor with Nancy. The evening was about half over, and Nancy and Ned were seated on one side of the gym when a boy came up and said that Ned was wanted on the telephone. He excused himself to Nancy and hurried off. A moment later, the band started a lively tune, and one by one, couples began to go back onto the dance floor. Bess, George, Bert, and Dave waved to Nancy as they passed by. At that moment, the music suddenly stopped, and the drums began to roll. Everyone became quiet and listened attentively. The band leader called out, "Where is Nancy Drew?" "Here I am," Nancy said, jumping up and raising her hand. "Will you please step up here?" the leader requested. "The police want to see you." As Nancy hurried forward, a gasp went up around the room. Why did the police want to see her? When she reached the band, the young leader said, "I'm sorry I had to call you out that way, but I didn't know you. Hope you don't mind." "Not at all," said Nancy. "Tell me, what's this about the police?" She was told that 2 detectives were waiting for her on the stage of the adjoining theater. "The student who came to give us the message said that they have news for you of the other Miss Drew." Excitedly, Nancy hurried from the gymnasium and down the long corridor which led to the stage and the theater. The entrance door was open and footlights were on. The curtain had been hoisted about halfway up. Nancy looked around but did not see anyone. Where were the detectives? "Hello?" she called out, thinking they might have walked out into the far wings where the dressing rooms were. There was no answer. Nancy was puzzled and turned to look out over the darkened seats. As she stood pondering directly under the curtain, she heard a noise above her. A sixth sense told the young detective to move in a hurry. She jumped forward just as the heavy curtain crashed to the floor. Terror seized Nancy. "Terry, where are you? You're seizing Nancy!" Oops, sorry. She leaped across the footlights to the floor and sped as if on wings to the corridor leading to the gym. She had not gone far when she was met by Ned. Bess, George, Bert, and Dave were following. "What's up?" Ned asked, seeing the look of fright on Nancy's face. Turning, Nancy pointed back toward the stage. "In there! The message was a hoax! Someone tried to kill me by dropping the curtain!" Bess shrieked and held on to Nancy. "Don't go back in there!" She's right, said Bert. You girls stay here. We'll find out what's going on in the theater. Nancy, still shaken by what had happened, agreed to wait in the corridor with the other girls. The 3 boys were gone for several minutes, then returned to report that they had found no one. Everyone was upset over the incident. Let's find the person who brought the message to the band leader, George suggested. Ned turned to the other boys. Isn't Jim Hankin on duty outside the gym tonight? He asked. Yes, I think he is. Ned explained that Jim was the guard for the evening to turn away from the dance anyone who was not invited. The group went at once to speak to him. Jim said a plainclothesman had come up to him and showed a badge. The detective said he did not want to intrude and asked that a student take the message to Nancy. And here we have a picture. It says, Nancy jumped forward just as the curtain crashed to the floor. I really like the dress. I really like the drawing of the dress. I think it's pretty cute. There you go. It's just like really intricate on the bodice, which you can't tell because it won't focus. I guess autofocus isn't on. But anyways. I didn't know her, so I asked our band leader to do it, Jim explained. He was quickly told what had happened and looked worried. I don't think that man will show up around here again, but if he does, I'll sure hold on to him and yell for help. Nancy spoke up. What did the man look like? She rather expected Jim to describe Edgar Nixon, but was told that the fake plainclothesman was tall, heavy-set, and had blonde hair. Nancy assumed he was a pal of Edgar Nixon. The Lonely Hearts Club suspect probably did not want to take a chance on being identified and had sent someone else. He was probably an out-of-towner, not known to the Emerson police. Nancy and her friends returned to the dance, but they did not wait until it was over. Though Nancy hated to admit it, she was exhausted. The day had been a strenuous one for Ned, and he was also pretty tired. Everyone slept soundly, but was up in time the next morning to go to the special chapel service arranged for students and their dates. As soon as it was over, Nancy and Ned returned to the Omega Chi Epsilon house. The telephone was ringing, and the call proved to be for Nancy. It's from a Mrs. Gruen, she was told by the student on duty at the time. Nancy picked up the receiver and said, Hello, is everything all right? I'm fine, and your father is too, the housekeeper said, but things are not well with Ira Nixon. His brother came last night and robbed him. Okay. I wonder how lucrative the husband protection industry is. Wow, I can't talk at all. Apparently, it's very lucrative because this Edgar guy is making $25 a month off one person, and he's scamming like lots of ladies, so he's making a decent paycheck for the time, right? I just need Nancy for myself. I can play 6 positions and complain about forgotten anniversaries over the phone and guilt her about it too instead of letting her live her life. I mean, it's kind of a big deal if you don't tell your significant other that you're just getting on a plane to Iceland. I mean, it's like me going to Iceland without Keegan, leaving him here, being like, oh, by the way, I'm in Iceland. No, it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't. He'd be like, okay, did you lose your loving mind? It looks like Nancy is falling off the stage, and she claimed, I dodged out of the way, when telling others the actual story. I fell on purpose. Owner of a Lonely Hearts Club suspect. Sorry, his brother stuck me on him. Just like she claimed, I certainly didn't get eaten by a large plant 7 times when doing the whole cur thing. I wanted to feed the hungry plant. Yeah, that's right. Nancy's smooth like that. I'd be upset if my BF went to Iceland on our anniversary and forgot our dinner too. See? It's fair. I think it's fair. I wouldn't want a dang Icelandic sword. And those would be really expensive. Postcard it is. Guys, I'm gonna try not to worry about it, but if you see any frame dropping, please let me know. And if it's significant, definitely let me know. I want a dinner made from scratch and a PlayStation or something. There you go. I mean, it seems like Nancy does this crap all the time. That's true. So if she does it all the time, I guess Ned shouldn't be so surprised, right? I don't know. Okay. Chapter 18. Shakespearean Puzzle. Hannah Gruen explained to Nancy that after church she had taken some food to poor Ira Nixon. He was in a bad state, she reported. The theft occurred late last night. Edgar came there and pounded on the door until Ira let him in. He never so much as asked how Ira was feeling or when he was going back to work or anything. That dreadful Edgar started right in demanding money. You mean part of the inheritance? No. Edgar said Ira always had been a miser, and he was sure he had money hidden in the house. When Ira wouldn't answer him, Edgar started hunting for some himself. Nancy was shocked at the story. She asked if Edgar had found any money. That's the dreadful part of it, Miss Gruen went on. Ira did have some in the house, lots of it. He was very foolish not to have put it in a bank. Yes, he was. How did Edgar get hold of the money? Nancy queried. He stole it, the housekeeper said. Edgar Nixon practically tore the house apart. He ripped sofa cushions, bed pillows, and emptied every drawer in the house. How dreadful, Nancy exclaimed. Do you know how much money he got? The answer stunned her. $1,000. Oh no, Nancy cried out. Poor Ira. How was he feeling when you left him? Pretty bad, Mrs. Gruen replied. I warmed up the food I took and made him eat some of it. This quieted him a bit, but I kept telling him he should notify the police. He refuses to and wouldn't let me. I'd call anyways. If you're witnessing a crime, I feel like if you don't speak up, then you're negligible for that. Nancy was incensed, but she could see that Ira, despite his family misfortune, did not want any unfavorable publicity about his half-brother. After all, they did have the same mother. I thought I'd better call you, Nancy, and tell you right away, Mrs. Gruen said. What do you think should be done? Nancy asked the housekeeper if she had spoken to Mr. Drew about it. No, I haven't had a chance. After church, your father went out into the country to see a client. He was planning to have dinner there. For several seconds, Nancy sat lost in thought. Finally, Mrs. Gruen said, Nancy, are you still there? Yes, I'm just thinking. Wait until I get back before doing anything. We girls are heading home this afternoon. She quickly told Hannah Gruen what had happened at Emerson and said that actually she was no closer to finding either Edgar Nixon or Nancy Smith Drew than she had been days ago. Well, Hannah dear, I guess I'd better hang up now. Ned and the others are waiting for me to have lunch. I'll see you around supper time. At the lunch table, Nancy told her friends about the latest twist in the mystery. Her friends were dismayed, and Dave remarked, Edgar Nixon is one of the slipperiest crooks I've ever heard of. Nancy said, Before we girls leave Emerson, I'd like to call on Mrs. Roderick once more. It's just possible she has heard from Nancy Smith Drew, but hasn't bothered to telephone me about it. Bess and George offered to do Nancy's packing while she was gone. In a little while, she and Ned rode off in the convertible. When Mrs. Roderick opened her front door, she exclaimed, You're just the people I want to see. I was going to call you, Nancy, but I couldn't remember which fraternity house you said you were in. You have news of Miss Drew? Nancy asked. Indeed I do. Thank you for the host, Summer. Please come inside and sit down. I'm so weak from the shock I just had that my knees are still wobbly. They all went into the living room and sat down. Mrs. Roderick explained that she taught a Sunday school class and then went to church service afterward. I thought for a change I'd stay out to dinner, so I went to a tea room that's open on Sunday. This was the reason I didn't get home until a little while ago. So far, there was nothing about Mrs. Roderick's story to upset her. Nancy and Ned waited patiently for her to go on. As soon as I came into the house, I went upstairs to change my clothes. To get to my bedroom, I had to pass Miss Drew's door. When I glanced into the room, I saw something on the bureau. Bureau? I think that's right. This seemed funny to me, so I went in to look at it. Mrs. Roderick went on to say that lying on the bureau was 2 weeks' room rent, but no explanation by Miss Drew as to why she had left it. I thought I'd better investigate to see if her clothes and jewelry and everything were gone. Sure enough, they were. There's no question but that she moved out. Nancy asked Mrs. Roderick if Miss Drew had left any kind of a message. Oh yes, the woman said, but it didn't say anything personal. Wasn't even addressed to me. In fact, it really wasn't a note, just a lot of words scribbled on a piece of paper. Neither Nancy nor Ned was sure this was the case, but hesitated to ask to see the note. You know how eager we are to find Miss Drew, Nancy said. If you had no idea where she's going, do you mind if I look around her room for a clue? No, go ahead, Mrs. Roderick said, and led the young people upstairs. She watched in interest as the couple made a thorough search of the place. Finally, they admitted defeat. Nancy turned to Mrs. Roderick. Are you sure that Miss Drew came here herself? The woman looked startled. Then she answered slowly, No, I'm not. And nobody else around here would have seen who it was. We're church-going folks on this street, so everyone would have been out. Then it's just possible, Nancy said, that someone else could have used Miss Drew's key and come in. I suppose so, Mrs. Roderick agreed. Suddenly she turned and looked straight at the couple. Are you two detectives? She asked. The young people began to laugh. Then Ned said, I'm not, but Nancy Drew is the best girl detective in the whole world. Don't you believe him, Nancy said quickly. I have solved some mysteries, I'll admit, and I enjoy it, but I'm sure there are many other girls who could do the same. Mrs. Roderick was silent a few moments. Then she said, I think I'd better show you that paper with the funny notes on it. I put it in my room. See what you can make out of the thing. She went to get it and soon returned, holding a sheet of white paper on which several verses were written in small handwriting. Nancy and Ned read them quickly. These are quotations from Shakespeare, Nancy told Mrs. Roderick. Shakespeare? Then I suppose it's not so funny, the woman remarked, since Miss Drew was coaching the Shakespearean play. Ned requested that Nancy read the various lines aloud. She did so, pausing between each quotation and puckering her brow. They said, My mind is troubled, like a fountain stirred, and I myself see not the bottom of it. Striving to better, oft we mar what's well. We that are true lovers run into strange capers. Prosperity's the very bond of love. So we profess ourselves to be the slaves of chance. Better 3 hours too soon than a minute too late. Travelers must be content. It is the stars above, govern us. It is the stars above us, govern our conditions. When Nancy finished reading, Mrs. Roderick remarked, If that was meant to be a message to me, I can't make head or tail of it. Ned admitted that he could not fathom the meaning of the conglomeration of quotes. Since Nancy had said nothing, he asked her, Have you any idea what this means? Nancy smiled. Yes, I think I know. So surprised but still disappointed. Yeah. Oh no, Victoria cried out. What? Hi, Summer. How are you? Good to see you. Hope you've been having a great day so far. Indeed, it's been good. Glad to hear it. How is everybody doing? Summer, what's the weather like where you are? I'm just curious. I want to hear the temperature. So we got 85 in Charleston. I think it's like well, my phone doesn't say, but I think I can do this. Or although I don't think, can I do, I don't know that I can do specific. That's not helpful because I'm not in New York. It's warmer in New York than it is here. Here, let me look. Finally, we know how it is for CJ, roughly. Oh, there we go. I don't think he's close to the city, though, right? It is 59 degrees here, which is excellent because it's been pretty warm. And I enjoy it actually feeling like fall because fall is my favorite. What's it like in Chicago, Terry? I don't think he is, but I don't know for sure. Yeah. Well, I remember him sending like lots of pictures of snow, so it must get pretty cold where he is. 79? Oh, wow. I think he's Florida-ing right now. Really? But I thought he was with his parents still. 48 degrees? Nice. Terry wins. Terry wins. That'd be a bad idea. That would be a bad idea. I'm pretty sure he's still in New York. Upstate New York. And I think we may just collaborate on the pumpkin thing. He's not in Florida. There you go. I do have people in Florida. Jade's in Florida. She and Amor moved from Chicago to Florida over the summer. They've so far I think they're okay and they're staying with family. So, have we heard from Britt? How's she doing with the storm? He got his master's, so he's done with school. Yeah, that's right. 29418. Welp. Yeah, I think. Shame I never got to hang with Jade. I didn't either. Unfortunately. I think the bot. Oh, you know what that's set for? That was set for stay tuned for danger. So it's not a bot where you can just input any city because I have to input it. I may be able to do it where you can input like through chat, but I'm not sure. Brit is okay. Okay. Why does my hair look so dark? I don't know. I'm being weird. Okay. We're pretty close now. 4 minutes till my last session. Cannot stay, but hello to you and have a nice read. Good to see you, Nicole. Thanks for popping in. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Yeah, I think she's okay. She said the most dangerous time was late last night for about a 2-hour period, and I got a Snapchat from Britt this morning. Okay. That's good. Want to make sure everybody in the fam is okay. Hi, bye, people. Bye, Ann. Good to see you. Have fun with your cards in. Hi, CJ. Welcome for joining. We were just talking about you earlier, because Rob thought you were still in New York, but me and V determined that you're in... Or, Rob thought you were in Florida, sorry. But me and V determined that you're in New York, so... Yeah, be sure to show those kids the guy who pours whiskey. What?! Last playing Cry? Really? When was that? We were talking about you. This is kind of hard to type one-handed. Rob was wrong, not surprised. One of Ann's cards for teaching has a guy pouring the liquid, and the back of it said the man is pouring whiskey. Oh, that's funny. Oh, thank you for shouting out Rob. He was next. House or horror? Oops! Why not both? Wow, I suck at this. V, do you want to shout out Terry? And then Terry, do you want to shout out V? Rob doesn't stream. The cry was a week and a half ago. Well, I missed it and I'm mad. Is the VOD still up? It says you were playing World of Warcraft. I'll shout us both out. Thank you. Thank you for shouting yourself out. I mean, I think we all here follow each other, but if you don't follow each other, just do it because we all stream and we're all great. Not to toot my own horn. And V was last playing Wind Waker. Bot says no to my streams. What's WoW? V streams? No way! Also, V, I'm very excited for your read stream. So I don't know how long you're gonna go, but I have to leave for ballet around 7:30. So I will be lurking and like watching while I'm getting ready for ballet. But Rob is an ambitious, productive teaching professional. He doesn't have time to stream. That was a very professional way of putting it. I hope so, otherwise I don't know what I'm doing for 264 hours in that stream. It's a vicious market out there, very competitive. That's fine, okay. Well, I've really been looking forward to it, because I love that book, and it's been a while since I read it, and I'd like to, like, listen to it, I guess, instead of read it and, like, see what I missed and stuff. Around 6 year time. Oh, 6 year time. Crap. Oh, wait. No, that's 5 my time. Okay. So I will... Am I dropping frames? My OBS keeps turning red. What was I gonna say? Oh, V, have you seen my Splatoon stickers? I don't remember where I got them. It was an Australia thing. But, okay, so it's at 5. I will get there as soon as I'm done picking up Keegan. Maybe I can pick him up early. You had a lot of applications underway. Rob throws balls at kids and makes dad jokes after school. You are very deserving of a job, Rob. I'm sure you're doing great, and they love you, and they want you there, so stop it. The kids totally love. Okay, next chapter, shall we? Alright, chapter 19, A Trap. Mrs. Roderick and Ned waited breathlessly for Nancy's interpretation of the Shakespearean quotations. As Nancy continued to study the words, Mrs. Roderick said impatiently, "If Miss Drew left that paper for me, how in the world did she expect me to get any message out of it? I'm not familiar with Shakespeare's plays." "I can't answer that," Nancy replied, "but this is what I think she was trying to tell you. First of all, Miss Drew believes she has fallen in love, but she has some doubts." I should think she would," Mrs. Roderick said, "if the man she thinks she has fallen in love with is as bad as you picture him." Ned, interested in Nancy's findings, begged her to go on. "Well, Miss Drew is about to take a chance anyway," Nancy said. The others nodded and waited for her to proceed. "The bride and groom, or the couple, are going traveling, probably by air. I think that was the reference to the stars, and it will be a night flight." "Why couldn't it be on a ship?" Mrs. Roderick asked. Ned grinned. "I think I can guess that one. The quotations mentioned that the stars had governed the condition. That could mean weather. If it's a bad night, their plane wouldn't be able to take off." Mrs. Roderick looked at the list again. "Here's one you haven't told us the meaning of. It says, Better 3 hours too soon than a minute too late. That is puzzling, Nancy admitted. But my guess is that Nancy Smith Drew, having some real doubts about the whole thing, wishes that you, Mrs. Roderick, could come to the plane before she flies. Alright. A frightened expression came over the woman's face, and she threw her hands into the air. My goodness, I couldn't go to New York. I'd like to help Miss Drew. She is a lovely person, and if she's in trouble, she needs help. But I must say she could at least have left me a note I could understand, and say goodbye and make her request in plain English. I have a hunch, said Nancy, that Edgar Nixon was with her when she came here, and the poor girl had no choice to write you an explanation. I had no chance to write you an explanation. The next best thing she could do was to put a message in the form of a code, and the first thing that came to her mind was Shakespearean quotations. Mrs. Roderick shook her head. This is too much for me. Well, I just hope that whatever Miss Drew is going to do, she won't be sorry for it. I'm afraid I can't help her, though. Ned spoke up. If Edgar Nixon is as slick as you think, Nancy, I bet I know what his next move was. When he got to thinking about the quotations, he'd deduce that you'd come here and find out they had a special meaning. My hunch is that he has already canceled their flight reservations. Nancy agreed and asked him to telephone the airline and find out. In a few minutes, he learned that the reservations for Mr. Nixon and Nancy Smith Drew for the Monday night flight to London had indeed been canceled. Mrs. Roderick was very upset. Do you think they're still around here? She asked. Nancy shook her head. By this time, Edgar Nixon knows the police are after him. He's probably changed cars again and left Emerson. It's likely he sold his red one to the pal who nearly ran us down. He probably went to Ira Nixon's in the new car, stole the $1,000, and will meet Miss Drew in New York. Or if they're already married, she's with him now. Nancy asked Ned to call other airlines, and this time he had good news. He located a new reservation for Nixon and Miss Drew. I think, he said, that Miss Drew couldn't get her passport changed in a hurry, so she's using the one with her maiden name on it. Nancy sighed. Even though I may be too late to prevent a wedding, I can alert the New York police where to nab Edgar Nixon. As Nancy and Ned got ready to leave, tears came to Mrs. Roderick's eyes. You people are very kind, and I do hope you can do something for poor Miss Drew. I'm afraid she has lost her head and has no relative or anybody in this country to help her. She has friends, said Nancy, but I imagine she's too proud to ask their advice. Ned suggested that they stop at Emerson Police Headquarters to see if there was any news of the elusive couple and to ask the chief to notify the New York police. They were told that there were no leads, and the officers were glad that Nancy had one to suggest. Word would be sent to New York immediately. As Nancy and Ned left police headquarters, she glanced at her watch. Oh, I didn't realize how much time has passed. Bess and George and I will be dreadfully late getting home. Ned, would you mind calling Hannah and telling her that I won't be there in time for supper after all? Glad to. When they reached the fraternity house, George and Bess were waiting with their dates in the hallway. The girls' luggage was piled up. We began to think you had gone home without us, George teased. The couple grinned and Ned said, Wait until you hear what we've found out. The story was quickly told about the quotations. Bert burst out laughing. Say, how about sitting in for me, Nancy, in my Shakespeare class? You might pull an A for me. It did not take long to load the car. After thanking the boys for a wonderful weekend, the girls jumped in. With a last wave, Nancy drove off. The journey was uneventful. The girls didn't even stop to eat. It's so late, said Nancy as they neared the outskirts of River Heights. How about you girls spending the night with me? They agreed, since they did not want Nancy to make the last part of the trip alone. As soon as they reached the Drew home, the cousins phoned their parents. Both Mr. Drew and Mrs. Gruen had welcomed the girls eagerly. Hannah had prepared some tasty chicken and lettuce sandwiches. Thank you for the host, Riddy. A large bowl of fresh cut-up fruit and a chocolate cake. As the girls ate, they related the latest items in the mystery. Amazing, said Mr. Drew. Finally, Nancy changed the subject. How's Ira Nixon? Her father answered. I went over there as soon as I got home and heard about the theft. I urged Ira to inform the police, but he still steadfastly refused to do so. He seemed to be calmer, however, so I didn't think it was necessary for me to stay or to ask a neighbor to come in. The three girls began to suppress yawns, and Mrs. Gruen suggested that they get to bed as soon as possible. They all slept soundly, but Nancy awoke early with a persisting thought in her mind. She proposed it to Bess and George. "Girls, if we can get permission, what would you say to going to New York? Nancy Smith Drew will need moral support when the police arrest Edgar Nixon." George's face broke into a broad grin. "I can't think of anything I'd like better than to see the police nab that cruel man." Bess said, "If you tell Nancy Smith Drew about her inheritance, maybe she won't feel so bad about having a husband in jail." The girls came downstairs early and asked Mr. Drew what he thought of the idea. "It's a good one," he said, smiling. "You may as well see this mystery to its conclusion, and you can stay in New York overnight with Nancy's Aunt Eloise." Nancy, Bess, and George had visited Mr. Drew's sister several times. They adored the school teacher, and she was always delighted to have them visit her. "She hasn't left for school yet," said Nancy. "Suppose I call her right away." Nancy had a long talk with her aunt, who was amazed to hear about the case and pleased that the girls were coming. "I'd love to see you," she said. As soon as Nancy had eaten breakfast, she phoned the River Heights airport and made a reservation for the three girls on a flight to New York that afternoon. Bess and George went home to get their clothes, and Nancy picked them up later. She planned to leave her car at the airport parking lot. After the girls had purchased their tickets and obtained seat reservations, they sat down to chat. Nancy said, "I'd like to find out how Ira Nixon is and tell him where we're going." She went off to a phone booth. To her delight, she found that Ira Nixon was feeling better and decided not to disturb him with any worry about his brother. As she left the booth, a young woman walked up to her. "You're Nancy Drew, aren't you? I've seen your picture in the paper lots of times." Nancy acknowledged that she was. "I've just come from the powder room," said the young woman. "A friend of yours is in there. She saw you come into the airport. She's terribly ill and asked me if I'd go and find you and bring you back there." Nancy looked at her watch. "Only 20 minutes to plane time." "All right," she said. The two hurried to the powder room. Nancy could see no one inside. "Over here," her companion said, and led Nancy around a corner. The next instant, the strange woman opened her purse and whipped a handkerchief from a plastic bag. She grabbed Nancy around the neck and held the handkerchief tight over the girl's nose and mouth. It had a peculiar, sickish odor. Nancy struggled to free herself, but within seconds she blacked out. Nancy got drugged! Okay, what did I miss? And they can relate to you due to your height. Getting paid to say dad jokes and play dodgeball is pretty cool. I was great at dodgeball when I was a kid. I don't remember playing it that much. The secret is being terrified of being hit, so all dodging and no throwing. Then I lasted forever. I was great at hitball, my own form of dodgeball, where I purposely dove in front of kids trying to dodge the ball. Muriel, I'll save you! My name is Brian. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Hi, Riddy. How are you? Good to see you. Well, we are finishing the book, so you missed the other read streams. Yeah, we are finishing the book. Chloroform. Drugged is better than hit in the head. Maybe. Thank you for clapping. What if she falls and hits her head while drugged? That would be really bad. Applesauce! It happens. Let me see how many... Oh, this is the last chapter, so we're about to finish the book. This is going to be shorter than I thought. Maybe we can do something else after, but okay. Last chapter. Chapter 20. Shattered bells. I wonder what could be keeping Nancy, said Bess nervously when her friend did not reappear. Our plane leaves in 10 minutes. We'd better hunt for her, George suggested. Maybe she's waiting for us at the gate. Nancy was not at the gate, nor was she in any of the telephone booths. She has a ticket, so I'm sure she wouldn't go without us, Bess remarked. Let's look in the powder room. The cousins hurried to it. At first, they did not see Nancy, but when Bess peered into the nursery, she gasped. Her friend was lying under a crib, covered with a blanket. What's the matter with her? Bess asked, frightened. I think she's been drugged, George said grimly. The girls uncovered Nancy and shook her. She did not respond. Quickly, they rolled the crib aside and put Nancy on a couch. Bess rushed to get a towel, held it under the cold water, and put it on Nancy's forehead. George chafed her wrists and gently slapped her cheeks. Finally, Nancy opened her eyes. What happened to you? Bess asked. Nancy blinked and took several deep breaths, but did not answer. Maybe we'd better call a doctor and forget the trip, said Bess. Her statement seemed to rouse Nancy to consciousness. No, she said weakly. Help me up and I'll be all right. The girls did not question her further. They knew, without being told, that once more Edgar Nixon had tried to intervene in Nancy's plans and keep her from following him. They were more convinced of this than ever when they found her handbag intact. Supporting Nancy, the two girls managed to walk her to the plane and onto it. Wouldn't the flight attendants be like, ma'am, do you need medical attention? I feel like they would not let her on the flight. By the time she reached her seat, the dazed girl declared she felt better and whispered to her friends what had happened. We guessed as much, George replied. Now just take it easy until we reach New York. Nancy dozed during most of the trip, but by the time they sat down at the airport, she declared she was all right. This is really proving to be a dangerous mission, the young sleuth said. Are you both sure you want to carry on? Of course we do, said George, but I have a suggestion for you. George felt that it might be wise for Nancy to try disguising herself. Bess suggested, you have on a reversible coat. You can turn it inside out and tie a scarf around over your hair and wear sunglasses. Yeah, that'll do it. All right, I'll do it, Nancy replied. As soon as the three girls got into a taxi to transfer them from LaGuardia Airport to Kennedy Airport, Nancy took off her coat, turned it inside out, and put it back on. The paisley-patterned scarf which she had been carrying in a pocket was tied around her head so only her face showed. Just before stepping from the cab in front of the airline building, she put on her sunglasses. George said, I never finished telling you my idea. Nancy, pretend you've never met Bess and me. You run ahead and do your sleuthing. We'll follow at a discreet distance. Nancy said she would go to the ticket counter while the other girls watched the passport desk for Edgar Nixon and Nancy Smith Drew. Okay, and if one of us finds out something, we'll raise our handbag in the air as a signal. By this time, Nancy was feeling her normal self and went at once to the airline counter. Have Mr. Nixon and Miss Drew checked in yet? She asked. The clerk consulted his list. No. Nancy took a seat nearby where she could watch the arriving travelers. Several who were making the flight to London came to the counter, but none was either Edgar Nixon or Nancy Smith Drew. She was beginning to feel discouraged when a couple hurried toward the long bench where she was seated. The man told the young woman to sit down, and he hurried off to the counter. He certainly looks like Edgar Nixon, Nancy thought excitedly. As she continued to stare at him, she caught a glimpse of a cufflink. It was red, with a black star in the center. Instantly, Nancy recalled what Mr. Whittier, the River Heights jeweler, had told her. That the man who had purchased a lovely pin for Nancy Drew had bought red cufflinks like these for himself. I'm sure he's Edgar Nixon, Nancy decided, and nonchalantly raised her handbag into the air to alert Bess and George. There's nothing nonchalant about raising your handbag in the air. I'm just raising my handbag, everybody. Okay. She now turned her eyes toward the young woman. Was she the English heiress? Was she married? Nancy's heart began to beat faster as the woman started to take off her gloves. She wore no wedding ring. Taking a chance that she had spotted the person for whom she had been searching, Nancy moved over and sat down beside her. "Pardon me, but aren't you Miss Nancy Smith Drew?" she asked. The young woman jumped in surprise. "Yes, I am. Do I know you?" she asked. "No. Oh, sorry, she's British." "Yes, I am. Do I know you?" "Sorry." "No, but first of all, let me tell you that my name is also Nancy Drew. I must talk to you quickly. Did you ever receive a letter from England telling you that you have inherited a small fortune?" "Why, no!" The amazed young woman exclaimed, "How did you know about this?" "Because the letter came to me by mistake, and I've been trying for weeks to find you." "Do you have the letter with you?" Nancy shook her head. "It was stolen. Miss Drew, it's a long story, but before I tell you everything, I must know this. Is the man with you Edgar Nixon?" "Yes." "You're not married to him?" "No, not yet." "He wanted to marry me right away and take me to England for a honeymoon. But I told him we would have to wait until we get to London. Even though I have no near relatives, I thought it would seem more like home to marry there." Nancy took hold of one of Miss Drew's hands and looked straight into her eyes. "I'm dreadfully sorry to have to tell you this. You must not marry Edgar Nixon. He's wanted by the police for robbery and using the mails to defraud victims in a phony Lonely Hearts Club." The actress gasped. "I don't believe it!" Nancy glanced up toward Bess and George. Both were holding up their handbags and looking toward the counter. 2 men had approached Edgar Nixon. "Look over there, Miss Drew," Nancy said. "Those are plainclothesmen arresting Edgar Nixon." All the color drained from the actress's face, but she got up when Nancy did and walked with her to the counter. They were just in time to hear one of the policemen say, "You're under arrest." As Edgar Nixon loudly protested, Nancy stepped forward. "I'm Nancy Drew from River Heights," she introduced herself. Bess and George came up and confirmed the statement. Nancy went on, "I also accuse this man. He tried to harm me so that I could not frustrate his plans." The other plainclothesman said that he had arranged for the use of an office in the airport so that they might talk in private. The 2 policemen marched Edgar Nixon toward it, and the others followed. Miss Nancy Smith Drew, trembling, clung to Nancy. "I know this is dreadful for you," the young detective told her, "but as soon as the shock is over, you will be grateful that you were saved from a very unhappy marriage." During the conference that followed, all of Edgar Nixon's unsavory schemes were brought out. He admitted having had 2 men to help him, and a girl who had become a friend through his Lonely Hearts Club. "Why did you steal the letters from your brother's mailbag?" Nancy asked him. A sneer came over the prisoner's face. He gave a little laugh as he answered, "Tell your father. His Mrs. Quigley is a gabby client. She joined my Lonely Hearts Club. The old gal sent me letters 5 pages long and told me all her business, so I knew exactly when the money was being mailed to Mr. Drew, and, well, I figured I needed it more than she did. I was hiding and waiting for a chance to take the letter from Ira when you stopped in your car and told him you'd give him cocoa at your house. That was my chance." Edgar said that getting the Nancy Smith Drew letter was pure accident, but he had instantly planned to benefit by it. One of his club members had sent him an Emerson newspaper. In it was an item that the actress was coaching a play at the college. When he read Mr. Bates-Jones' letter, Edgar had hurried to Emerson to make her acquaintance, and a couple of days later asked her to marry him. All this time, Nixon had not looked at his fiancée, who was on the verge of tears. He made no apologies to her, and when questioned by Nancy, he said he had intended to keep the knowledge of her inheritance from Miss Drew until after they were married. "Do you have the $1,000 with you that you took from your brother?" Nancy asked the prisoner suddenly. Taken off guard, Edgar Nixon whipped out his wallet and threw it at the girl. "Take this to the old miser," he shouted hysterically. "He never did treat me like a brother." Nancy looked in the wallet. Besides the money, there were 2 plane tickets to London. As Edgar was led away, Nancy Smith Drew burst into tears. "What a fool I've been," she sobbed. "First, I walked out on those fine boys in the drama club because of Edgar, but I did peek in at the show before taking the things in my locker, and I never said goodbye properly to Mrs. Roderick. Edgar kept urging me to hurry with my packing and wouldn't let me write a thank you note, but while he was carrying my bags down, I managed to scribble a few verses that had a message in them. Edgar didn't know what they meant." "Nancy figured them out," Bess said proudly. Miss Drew turned her tear-stained face toward Nancy. "You've been so wonderful, but," she added sadly, "there'll be no wedding bells for me, and I had counted on my marriage so much. Oh dear, I don't know what to do." As Nancy thought of an appropriate answer, she suddenly realized that this mystery which she had enjoyed so much was coming to a close. The young detective always felt the vacuum in her life when this happened. But the feeling was not to last long. In a short time, she would be working on another case, Sign of the Twisted Candles. Nancy put an arm around the actress. "I'll tell you what you should do, Miss Drew," she said, smiling. "Take one of these plane tickets and go to England tonight." "Oh, do you think I should?" Bess and George backed Nancy up in urging the actress to go. "You can have a wonderful time," Bess said, "and forget all your troubles." Finally, Nancy Smith Drew said, "You dear girls, I can never thank you enough." Then she began to quote from Shakespeare. "But love is blind, and lovers cannot see the pretty follies that themselves commit." The end of Nancy's mysterious letter. Nancy Drew number 8. And that didn't even take an hour and a half. So, yeah. Let me see what I missed. Party! Puts on party clothes. What are your party clothes, CJ? Shattered bells. Oh, we finally learned how Nancy cracked the Liberty Bell. It was probably a puzzle or something that inexplicably opened up a lockdown the other side of Philadelphia. Locked door. I think that's a great idea. That's a cool fan fiction idea. You should get on that, Terry. I liked it. I like it. Man, you seem like all of our passengers. Best if you've already been drugged. Welcome for raising your handbag, CJ. Nonchalantly. Is there any other way to raise a handbag? You could raise it ceremoniously, Lion King style. Ow, that hurt my arm. I got a flu shot, so. I had a friend that I played games on voice chat with on the Xbox Live, so everybody heard what we said. He'd talk about his kitten and how he'd often just raise a kitten up and do the chant from the Lion King while he did it. I know I just ruined your life, but you're gonna be so indebted to me. That's really cute. I feel like that's Nancy in a nutshell. He'd get interrupted and he'd say, "Screw your cat," and his response was simply, "Screw you, good sir and or madam, I'm talking about my kitten." There you go. That is the right way to respond to that. I like him. Then go back to the chanting after he politely told them off. He's adorable. His team often lost when we played online and got mad at him, but I was amused and he was too, so I was okay with it. Because his focus was never on the game, just telling stories. That's funny. I like that. But, you know, there's like, you guys could have just done like party chat and it be private just between the two of you so the other people wouldn't have to listen. You know that, right? I know somebody else who loves that one. I feel like that's everyone's favorite book. I can't remember if I've read that one yet. I don't think I have. That would bug me too, but there's a lot to be said for being amused. Claps. Thank you guys. Welcome for clapping. It was just like casual Halo playing. We didn't care. We were having fun. I am too competitive, but I would like to learn to have fun someday. You were too ceremonious. Yeah, I know, but he insisted on everybody hearing it. Oh, that's funny. Well, that's cool. Well, what did you think of the end of the book? Is there anything you'd like to discuss? Any questions? I don't know. I think I liked it pretty well. The whole football thing was really weird. I'm sure it was the style of the writing in the time, but I don't like how they pronounce, or they say the first and last name of the character like every single time. Like, it's just not necessary. Edgar Nixon, Edgar Nixon. Like, it's just really annoying. And it's even more noticeable when you're reading it out loud. But yeah, I'm sure it was just like a part of the style. Yeah, I liked the way the story went. It wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't terrible, so probably give it like 3.5 stars. Maybe 3.5. Yeah, I could do without the 2 chapters of Ned playing every single position in a football game. I ended up missing a lot of the book and heard mostly just the football game, so it wasn't my very favorite one. That is fair. Yeah. Yeah, for the football stuff, I may have to take it down to 3. I don't know. It was weird. Okay, here's what I need to do. I need to go to Goodreads and take a look at now that I have all of them, I need to take a look at what I've read from the very beginning. So, bear with me so I can figure out what I'm reading next. Oh, and you know, a cool thing about me getting the whole set now is that I'm gonna have duplicates. And especially like the glossy covers like this, I'm not planning on keeping these. So I'm gonna use these for giveaways for my stream. So whenever we reach a goal or something, I'll be more proactive about that in the future once I get things figured out with my schedule. I'll start doing giveaways again, which I've only done one, but I really enjoyed doing that, and I think Gloria is the one who won, and I think she really enjoyed it too. So if you guys are excited or up for giveaways, just let me know, and I will be more proactive about incorporating that kind of thing into the streams. So I'll have to go through and see which ones and how many of them I'm gonna have to do giveaways in the future. But okay, let me read chat and then I'll go through what I've read. Was there a lot of Nancy finding clues in what I missed? Because I feel like in others she's more detective-like, whereas I feel like she mostly talked to people in this. She really did talk to a lot of people in this. You're right, CJ. You're spot on. Ooh, nice. Sounds wonderful. Okay. Yeah, I just thought that'd be fun. I don't know if you guys are, like, interested in the glossy, because I know that you guys are collectors too, right? So, the newer printed books are not as exciting for that, but they're good to have, like, especially in these cases when, you know, I want to do a read stream, but I don't want to have to worry about, like, damaging the book or anything. It is nice to have the glossy covers, so I'm just like, I'm using it instead of, you know, having it on a shelf, like, protected. Now I'm getting real nerdy. Okay, let's take a look. Actually, do you guys want to see this? It might be interesting for you guys to see this. Although, I don't know. I don't want to mess with my settings. It's okay. Alright, Secret of the Old Clock, I have read. I'm going to see if I have any reviews on these. I'm just curious if the internet will work with me. Okay. I do not have a review on this. Lexi says, a classic and the benchmark for many other children's series. Wish fulfillment fiction at its finest. Wish fulfillment fiction at its finest. There you go. So I've read The Secret of the Little Clock. I've read The Hidden Staircase. Pretty sure that one annoyed the crap out of me. Oh, here, let's see. So I gave Secret of the Old Clock 4 stars, Hidden Staircase 3 stars. Nope, I do not have a review on that one. Number 3, The Bungalow Mystery. We read that on stream. I gave that 3 stars. Isn't that what we read? That's what we read before this, right? Number 4, The Mystery at Lilac Inn. I gave that 3 stars. I feel like one of these I have a review on because I actually did it for a class thing. That's not it. Secret of Shadow Ranch. That one is 4 stars. I really like that one. I think that's the one I started with when I started reading the books again. Because I was just really excited. Yep, here's a review. Do you guys want to hear the review for this? It could be terribly written, I'm not sure. It would keep me from having to go to the library, so it would be nice. Okay. Going to finish making some food, but I will be right back. Okay. So here's my review for Shadow Ranch in honor of V streaming it tonight, which I'm excited about. I've always been a big fan of Nancy Drew and have really enjoyed playing and collecting the computer games with my stepmom. A few days ago, while browsing my boyfriend's mother's... Oh, when did I write this? What the heck? I wrote this after we were married. No, that doesn't make sense. I shelved it after we were married, but I don't know when I wrote this. It doesn't have a date for when I wrote it. Anyways, okay. While browsing my boyfriend's mother's Nancy Drew book collection, I realized that I haven't really read through any of the originals, although this edition I read was the 1965 revised edition. Thus, I took a few days to enjoy this light reading, a classic mystery novel with lots of twists and turns to keep the reader going. It was quite a change of pace from what I usually read, but very enjoyable at that. Carolyn Keene, the pseudonym for many then anonymous writers, will always be a name remembered for those trend-setting authors in my mind, who had many accomplishments and credentials that any aspiring writer would look up to. To the creator, Edward Stratmeyer, and the many talented writers, thank you for creating such a legendary character and a legacy of amazing novels and stories which will never be forgotten. Well, there you go. I don't remember writing that or when it was, but that was kind of cute. Okay, I have read The Secret of Redgate Farm. I gave that 3 stars. I do not have a thing on it. And, okay, number 7, the book before this, I have not read. I've read The Sign of the Twisted Candles. Do I have a review on that? No. Okay. So, the next one I need to read is The Clue in the Diary, which is number 7. So, give me a second and I'll go pull that out just to show you what I have. I'm not doing Shadow, I'm reading Scarlet Hand. Oh! I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I get that acronym confused with Shadow Ranch sometimes. But that's still exciting. That sounds fun. That's still really cool. I'll still be there, so. Boyfriend on the side confirmed. Yeah, right. Sorry for any confusion. No, that's okay. It's not your fault. It's mine for misreading and yay for writing what you don't remember. That's kind of cute though. You look so cozy. Well, I like this blanket, and yeah, I was cold, so I'm still like I'm in full clothes because I went to the doctor's this morning, and usually when I get home I put on like pajama pants or something, but I'm still wearing my boots and my jeans because I just didn't want to change because I was cold. But hi, and welcome for joining again. Give me a quick second. I'm gonna go grab number 7 to see what all I have of that one. So I'll leave you with the music and I'll be right back. Okay, hello. That's weird. Okay. She leaves as I join. Hi. It didn't take me that long. I was just gonna grab the book. It's pouring down here. What's the, temperature there, Nicole? Bus duty in 7 minutes. What do you have to do for bus duty? Just like make sure the kids line up for the right bus or something? Hanging with Chad is better than most things. This is true. Can confirm. Yes, welcome back. Okay, so this is from the set that I just got. And it smells pretty old. Like she had it in storage. Also smells like where it was stored with a possible smoker. That's the only downside. But as far as the smell goes, it's not too bad. It could be worse. So this is one of the original Yellowbacks. It's really cute, and they're pretty well. Most of them are in pretty good condition. This one's got like a little bit of old dirt kind of on the spine, but need to dry. But thanks for the reading. Thank you for being here, Riddy. Be safe and good to see you. Hopefully see you later. Have a good day. It's like 60. Okay, that's about what it is here. So yeah, I'm excited for this one. I don't know who Amy Kwasnick was, but that's apparently who it belonged to at one point or other. So yeah. Let me read the description for you guys, and then I don't think I'm gonna start the book because I need to do some updates on the stream for it, but 1962. This new story for today's readers is based on the original of the same title. Interesting. So, okay, guys. Well, I'll tell you this. Let me tell you this after I read the description, but I want you guys to tell me how much of a nerd I am and if I'm being ridiculous. So, I will read the description for The Clue in the Diary, the next book that I'm going to read on stream. Nancy and her friends, George and Bess, are returning from a country carnival when they witness the explosion and burning of a beautiful country mansion. Fearing its occupants may be trapped in the blazing building, they rush to the rescue and unexpectedly find themselves confronted with a mystery that seems to be insoluble. The first clue is an anonymous diary, its entries in a handwriting difficult to decipher. Even more puzzling are the technical drawings and chemical formulas contained in its pages. Who dropped the diary near the burning house? Was it the gaunt stranger Nancy glimpsed running away from the flaming structure? What was he doing there? And does he know the whereabouts of Felix Raybould, an unscrupulous dealer in patents who has not been seen since his home burned? Or did Raybould die in the fire? Fire investigators believe that the destructive explosion and fire may not have been an accident, but an act of revenge. Evidence mounts against Joe Swenson, an inventor who was swindled by Foxy Felix. Prompted by her affection for Mr. Swenson's 5-year-old daughter, Honey, the young detective makes a desperate effort to exonerate the inventor of the suspicion of arson. How she accomplishes this makes another exciting Nancy Drew mystery. There you go. Well, that sounds interesting. It also sounds vaguely familiar, so I don't know if I did read it and didn't record it, but revenge. So that would be exciting. Okay, you guys, tell me if I'm nuts. So with all the copies that I have, and now that I have the full set, I kind of want to go through each book and each copy that I have and try to figure out exactly when it was printed, because even with these yellowbacks and the originals, right, there were different printings, and maybe a couple years ago, I found this website, this great website that had like different indicators of when certain editions were printed. Even if it's the same edition, there may have been multiple printings of the edition, so like you still get variations in the font and the inside cover and stuff. You remember that website? Okay, it's not just me. I'd be really curious to see what kind of editions I have, and I want to like go through and catalog each book and try to figure out exactly when it was printed. Especially for the few originals that I have, just to see how old they actually are. And I don't know. It's just like, that sounds like something I would do. CJ, we're a lot alike. So I have no criticisms. Okay. I know most people probably wouldn't do it, but I don't know. It sounds like fun, and I'm really weird, and I like that kind of stuff. I don't really know why, but that's very much part of the reason I'm such a librarian, and like archiving would be a really interesting discipline within library studies for me to study and work on, because I think it's really important to preserve items like this from the past, just so we have something physical to look back on and touch and smell and like get an idea for what it was like then. And I don't know, I think it's important, and as the digital world is great, and I do believe in that too, but at the same time, as more things go digital, the less we're gonna be able to preserve in physical form, and it just gets complicated with that, with the digital world. So I don't know. That's my librarian rant over. And okay, it's the 11th. I'm just ranting now here. I should probably change my from creative to like just chatting or whatever it is, but so I really need to decide if I'm gonna apply for grad school. I probably need to sit down and make a list of what it would actually take. Because the stuff is due on the 15th. And just because I apply doesn't mean I have to decide to go in spring. I don't know that I'm ready to go in spring, maybe by summer. Especially if I'm getting a job and I want to like get used to that first before I add another workload on top of that. Welcome from ranting. I mean, I do think the degree would be useful for me, and then I could actually aim to become a librarian, like a full-fledged librarian, because you do need your master's for that. And that is something I'm interested in. I just don't... For me, it's weird because... Even if you apply, you don't have to go. Yeah. For me, it's weird because, like... I have very niche interests. And I would like to combine those interests for the library field. So, like, with my Asian studies background, there are specific libraries for... like Asian American genealogy, Asian art. Like, I think that'd be really cool. It'd be like getting a job at a museum that has a really small library. I think that would be so cool to do something like that. But the problem with that is that those are very, well, let's see, they're probably very competitive because, well, library jobs are competitive anyways, because I think there's more, they're in high demand, but there are a lot of people going after the degree right now, I feel like. I don't know if I'm completely accurate on that. But then also, there's no way to do that where I'm living right now. You can't do that in the Midwest. I'd need to be on the West Coast to do that. And I'd be happy to do that. I just don't know when we're going to get the opportunity to move. Just with everything going on and with Keegan's health, like, we want to make sure that he's healthy before we do anything like that. And he should be. His 6-month checkup is coming up at the end of the month, to make sure that the tumor isn't cancerous or anything, which it shouldn't be. And I will keep you guys updated on that. But there's just a lot going on, and I think it would be a good time to do it because might as well if we're going to be here for the next couple years. And like yeah, so it'd be like a good use of the time, and I know I'd be good at it. I know I'd probably like it. I already know one of the professors, and my cousin went through the program, so she's like my go-to person to talk to about it. And she actually got it when she was working full-time. The only issue really I have is like time and money. Because obviously if I'm going back to school, that's going to take up a lot of time. And if I'm going back to school, then we're probably going to have to take out loans unless I get some kind of scholarship, but I don't know what the scholarships look like for the library school. I actually don't know how much time I have to apply for those. And if it's like around the same time as the actual application deadline. I don't know. Take into consideration the cost. I think it's only an application fee, but I do need to look at how much that is. Plane flights across the country. Yeah, I won't have that issue. And I'm fairly confident that I'll have, like, 85% sure I'll get in, because, I've already, like, this is my alma mater, I have a 4.0, like, I have experience in libraries, so I don't see why I wouldn't get in, honestly. When I did it, don't not do something because it's competitive ever. I'm still shocked by the schools I got into and scholarships I received when I applied to places way above the level I thought it was. You know, that's one of my... It wasn't a competitive issue, but when I was in high school, I never applied to anywhere except where I went. Because I was pretty sure I was going to go here. Just because it was close, it was economical, like, it was really the only thing I could afford. But I do regret not trying for other things because I was interested in applying for like Ivy League stuff. And I don't know that I would have gotten in, but I had a 3.9 and, you know, I don't know, I was just interested. Like, I always wanted to go to Brown. I'm not really sure why exactly, but I loved, like, I liked what their university looked like, and the campus looked beautiful, and I had a lot of friends that were going to the East Coast for college. And what's the other thing? I have an ancestor that has a book in the Brown University library, so like I have family ties to the university. I don't know. I was always interested in that, but I just never did it. Not to say that I couldn't ever like apply for grad school or something, but it was just something in high school I told myself I didn't have time for, which was probably true, but at the same time, everybody else was just as busy as I was, and I had friends who were applying to Harvard, and they got in. So yeah, I don't know. I probably should apply. I just have a few days, and I need to get on it, so I don't know why I'm just sitting here talking about it. Probably because I'm working through it in my brain, and I'm trying to, like... This is very hypocritical for me. Why? You got your master's. How do you feel now that you got your master's? I should probably change this to chatting. I don't know what else I need to do today. I mean, there's always stuff to work on, but honestly, I would rather stream. And also, CJ, I will read your message when I get off and get back to you. Because it's in my notifications, I just haven't read it yet. I hope you can make your dreams come true. I feel validated and accomplished with my master's, which is important because I doubt myself so much that now I can't deny that I have the degree no matter how much I want to be down on myself. There you go. Yeah. And I'm proud of what I've done with my academics, but I can't use my degree for anything here. I just can't. And I feel like more often than not, people want you to have a master's degree anyways. And especially in the library world, it's much better to have that, and you can't be a librarian without it. So, and yeah, I think that would help me too. I think I would feel pretty good about having a master's degree. And I mean, I have looked at the courses and stuff, and I think I'd have a lot of fun with it. Well, not fun, but, you know, like, I'd enjoy the learning portion of it. And the cool thing about this degree, you don't have to do a thesis. There is a exam option, which, you know, is over a weekend, and that's, like, all you do is write an exam for a whole weekend, and everything falls on whether or not you get your degree falls on that exam. So that is a lot of pressure, but at the same time, you don't have to do a thesis. You should go for it when you feel it's the right time. Still planning to apply for a doctorate, but just taking a long time off. Yeah, didn't have to do a thesis. Well, yeah, but yours was performance, wasn't it? Was yours piano performance, right? That's the same thing that Keegan's grandmother had. She had a doctorate in piano performance and vocals too, I think, because she did opera. Yeah, we're actually getting one of her pianos tomorrow. Yes. Did you have to write any papers, though? Well, I'm sure you did have to write some, but... yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'll be ready by spring, but at least if I apply now, I can go ahead and start in summer. So maybe I need to get off and do that. Probably, because I have to write for it. But I thought someone I knew had to write a thesis for theirs. Oh. I guess nobody's gonna say no if you want to write a thesis for your degree. I don't know. Do you guys want to, like... Would you guys want to try some Jackbox? Just for a little bit. Not very much. And then I'll probably call it. You had a relative who played the piano, but I didn't realize she was so accomplished. Yeah. She's not with us anymore. She died 2 years ago. I think. Which feels crazy. But yeah, she was Keegan's grandma. She was very sweet, and yeah, she still has 2 baby grands in her house, and then we're getting her clavinova. So I'll actually get to start playing again and maybe finish learning Clair de Lune, because when I was going through school, high school, when I was taking lessons, the last thing I was working on was Clair de Lune, and I got halfway through, and the piano teacher I last had, you know, she up and decided to move to Spain, and I was just done with having piano teacher over piano teacher, like, again and again and again, and they just keep quitting on me. There was just this weird time period when I had lots of piano teachers, and I was sick of changing so much. And I was running out of time anyways, like, I was in high school and I was just busy, and so I only have half a Clair de Lune learned, and if I could dedicate the time to it, I'm sure I could teach myself, but I'll teach you Clair de Lune. Okay, CJ, that sounds fun. Just don't judge me, because I'm not, it's just a hobby, it's not, I mean, I am a musician, but I don't have a degree, so. Might just be 3 of us. Well, are you guys interested in that? Would you play some? Maybe like Fibbage or something? I feel like so many bots just come in streams now. I don't know. You performed at the whole suite when you were younger. That's cool. I did have to write a lot more than I wanted, sort of in place of the thesis. I did a recital, and then there was a big exam where I had to write 2 extensive papers within 1 week. Yeah. Go find your Lion King friend. I would love to do anything we could do. Okay. Well, let me queue up Jackbox. I am going to separate the streams so I don't have to worry about it later. I may not even upload the Jackbox because we'll just do it short and it'll just be a casual thing. So, I'm gonna end the stream and change some things, but stay here because I'll come right back. So, okay. You should find him! And be like, hey, my friends like you. I don't know. Okay. I'll be right back, guys.